So good evening and welcome to the Playful Creative Pop-Up. This is the third in our series. My name is David Chislett, just in case you were wondering. And I'm the creativity activator from the Netherlands. And together here with my co-host from the summit is Alia Sandovar.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Alia Sandovar. I'm a game and play consultant, and I am here speaking to you from Berlin, Germany.
Last time she was in Munich, so this is all getting a bit multinational. So the whole point of these pop-up events is essentially to serve as kind of warm-up events for the Creative Summit that will happen from 21 to 26 April next year. And so what we've been doing is inviting speakers from the 2020 summit back so that people can get a more in-depth look into their thinking and also, maybe get a few more tools and tricks out of the bag and have a chance to ask some questions. So that's pretty much the whole idea behind this. So we're extremely thankful to all of you for making your time available to come and be with us. And I think this is probably a good time to do the first question that we like to do to get everybody all relaxed in the vibe, although looking at all of you, I'm not sure that's entirely required. If you could just turn on your chat function and type in there, what is the temperature where you are now and what color is the sky?
Oh.
What is the temperature here, actually? That's a good question.
I don't know what the temperature, I think it's, wow, that's crazy.
6 degrees. Feels like it's colder than that.
Yeah.
Cold, black. Nice, Judith. -3 in Berlin. 8 degrees and black, light blue with clouds. Okay, Cassandra's clearly in America somewhere. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. So we do have a little bit of a giveaway surprise for later on. So we'll keep you hanging in anticipation for that for a little bit later on. Today, our guest is Maverick leadership specialist Judith Germain. My job is to kind of keep the conversation going, although trust me, with Judith, that's not going to be a problem. And Ali is busy doing all the technical stuff in the background and keeping me honest and doing all the stuff I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, if at any stage Judith says something that you want to question, just bang it into the chat, and Ali and I will be keeping an eye on that. And so if Judith perhaps doesn't actually see it or isn't able to work it in, we'll make sure that the questions get asked before we finish. All right. And by the way, that giveaway that we've got lined up for you is an all-access pass to the summit that it took place in April this year. And Alia's got a magic hat there somewhere. She'll be pulling one of your names out of that to give you access to the summit if you don't have it already. So let me tell you a bit more about Judith. Judith equips Maverick leaders to change the way that we work through leadership and influence. Because Mavericks utilize their ability to strategize, innovate, and execute, we can all have better outcomes. So Judith is doing something a little bit different with this whole idea of dealing with leadership. But before we get into that stuff, of course, we have to do the traditional bowl of doom thing, where we're going to get Judith.
I'm worried about the name, Bowl of Doom.
Yes, and you should be. You should be. All right. So the first random question out of the bowl of doom is, sorry, did you hear me shaking it? Just to make sure I wasn't just pulling one out on purpose, yeah?
Nope.
Bang, bash.
They also have to answer it. In addition to Judith, whatever question we asked for her, it's something that we ask everyone to answer in the chat also. So
Yeah. Oh, that's fair.
Cool. So, and of course, yeah. So the question for Judith is, what was your most embarrassing moment in a consultation? So I think for everybody else, that would be in a work meeting, or if you're also consulting. Like, what's the worst thing that's been really embarrassing that's happened to you when you're doing your work?
Embarrassing. I think probably is overhearing You know, like sometimes when you're in the room and you can overhear another conversation, and it's trying to keep that professional face on when you can hear something funny behind you. That's been, you know, when you've actually heard sort of punchline to a joke and you're trying not to laugh because you know it's an inappropriate time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, because the other person's not there in the room. I think that's probably the most embarrassing thing on a consultation.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Alia crying. Great. Lovely. Why are you crying in meetings? What's going on there? Not be prepared to communicate adequately with everyone in the meeting. I'll go, okay. That's an interesting one. All right. Let's shake the bowl of doom around. Don't worry, we're not going to torture you too long with the bowl of doom, Judith. Oh, this is one of my favorite questions. Silk scarf or handcuffs?
Handcuffs.
Handcuffs. All right. Silk scarf. Yes. Silk scarf. Oh.
I've never been asked that question before.
Silk scarves. Okay.
Everybody else is pretty sure of silk scarves except for
No, I'm really standing out for having said the wrong thing, I think.
Sharon, I think your client for the psychic reading might have gotten the wrong idea about what exactly was going on there. Pulling his pants down, that's a pretty embarrassing thing to happen.
Yeah, it was actually very frightening. It was a scary experience.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. That's not what you'd really expect when you're doing that kind of work, I'm sure. All right, and last question. Bowl of doom is what heartwarming event happened to you this week? What happened where you went, oh, that's really nice? Nothing?
Heartwarming. Actually,
Feel good moments.
Well, it's a work one, unfortunately, but a client of mine sent me 5 testimonial videos to choose which one I wanted to use. Wow. And they're like different reflections on different things they've done, and they all kind of got me, because it was just things like, you know, this wouldn't have happened without you, and, you know, you're such a friend now. And it was a great way to start the day, just to watch video after video after video and go, oh. Wow.
That's heartwarming. Yeah, absolutely. Bea got a pacemaker, heartwarming. Well, certainly heart stimulating, definitely. Yes, good. I'm glad you could make it. Is that why you got a virtual background so we can't see the hospital bed and the drips and stuff? Or is it... I've muted you. Sorry, Bea. You're going to have to unmute yourself. Yeah, we got trimmed trees. Cassandra, cold heart. All right, good. So, well, it's a good thing we have a fun ground, because I'm exhausted. I think Judith's also been awake since 4 a.m. So this is going to get interesting. So without any more ado, I think everyone's suitably warmed up and ready to rock and roll. Judith, do you want to take it from here?
Sure, let me just get us going. And then we'll all okay. Brilliant. So that's cool. So hello everybody. It's so good that David's actually invited me back. I wasn't quite sure we'd do that, so that's really nice. And I think quite often people see Mavericks as quite serious individuals, or perhaps intimidating, and don't realize that underneath that, you know, there's just this amused person all the time. So we might appear to be quite serious, but we see the world in kind of a fun, quirky kind of way. So I think probably to kick off now is just to ask, you can unmute yourself really, and just ask yourself, answer the question, are you a maverick, and how can you tell? So if you want to unmute yourself. Do you want me to pause the share?
I don't know what a Maverick is, so
Aha.
so I don't
So
know
that's
if I'm
good.
one or not.
I was looking it up in
I'm,
the dictionary.
I'm not going to tell you what I think it is, but from your sort of perspectives of what you've maybe seen on TV or can guess, what do you think?
I'm definitely a Maverick, a person who shows independence of thought and action, especially by refusing to adhere to the policies of a group to which he or she belongs. Everyone thinks I'm weird.
I love the way you were so definite about it.
Definitely, I'm proud of it. Proud of it.
I'm proud of it. That's perfect. But anybody else?
Yeah, I've always considered myself a maverick as far as my self-expression and the way I dress. And I try to be an inspiration that way and help people, not just dress like clones, but express themselves in a creative and unique way so they stand out in the crowd.
Cool.
Cool.
So,
I
sorry,
believe
go.
I'm one. I believe I'm one. Remember, that's how we got to be introduced to each other by Patrick,
Mhm.
because of the Maverick character in both of us, me and him me pointing me to you to say, there's this person that I'd also want you to meet, who's the supervisor of Mavericks.
That's cool. It's always good when someone says that. I mean, I've been defining Mavericks since probably 2005 as willfully independent people. So that's my definition, is a willful, and the willfulness isn't like a toddler stamping their feet and going, I must have. It's more a person who has a smirk on their face. They get what they want, but they're bemused all the time, and they see the world as a joyous game, and they will play it, and they'll play it hard. Does that still fit in? Would you still claim your mavericknism?
I definitely do.
Absolutely.
Oops.
I strive to be that way, but sometimes I take it too seriously.
Oh yeah, that can be difficult. What do you think you should do to become less serious in that respect? Any idea?
That's a tricky one.
Risk more, experiment, play.
Oh.
I work in a government office, so it's a little hard.
You just have to wear that bemused look on the inside. I think sometimes it's about control, isn't it? So if you know that you can deal with the consequences of what's come out, it's easier to be more playful, and it's easier to let go, isn't it? If you know that no matter what happens, you've got that. Does that make sense? Makes it a lot easier.
Totally.
What? Even the bowl of doom?
I love the bowl of doom. Come on.
Well, Mavericks, especially socialized Mavericks, they like play, but only serious play. Like, what do you think I mean when I say like serious play? What does that mean?
I'm beginning to think I'm not a maverick.
Think of competitive.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's purposeful in a way. So there's a big difference between when you're socializing and you're just having fun and you're just playing, but like in a work environment, it's kind of because it's so focused on the outcome. It's like, what's the point of this? So if you're doing an icebreaker that's moving something along, then that's okay. Does that make sense?
It has a purpose, yeah.
There's a purpose to it, because sometimes you can do icebreakers and you're just sitting there going, we've just spent 30 minutes and I don't know why. Which is not at all useful. So how do you think a Maverick's willfulness normally plays out? Say in the work arena.
Getting fired.
Opening a startup.
Not
That's
being able
true.
to sit in one place.
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
I was saying not being able to sit in one place.
I think also is that kind of internal consultant, isn't it? So Mavericks tend to go, I know how to fix this. It might not be my department, but I'm just going to go and fix it anyway.
That's why I always got fired.
Because it's like, you understand what the stated goal is. I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. So you just can do that, don't you? Regardless, and you think people would be happy about it. Can you think of a negative way that willfulness can play out? Or that sense of fun?
If it's harming someone, like it doesn't, in terms of like trust, so it makes someone not feel at ease.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing with Mavericks as well is that everything is kind of fun, but when they're bored, especially if you're an extreme Maverick, they tend to have fun at someone else's expense, and that can be quite dangerous. So they might play with that individual to see how far they can push them. Has anybody ever had experience where someone's done that to them, or they've seen that?
Yeah.
And can somebody go through like an example so we could see that?
Well, I've had experiences with a few people who seem to make it their mission to see if they can, in this instance, of course, push me to the point where I lose my cool, or basically just push anybody beyond the point where they don't want to really go, just so that they can kind of, I don't know, say they did it, or just so that they've now got, okay, now I've got your number, now I know how to manipulate you, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
those people aren't playful. They're just.
But for them, they're playful because they're bored. It might not be from meanness. It feels mean, but it might not be because they're being mean from their perspective. They're doing it because they're bored, they're under challenged, what else should I be doing now? Let's just play with this guy over here and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be dangerous. Okay. What I'd like to do is I am going to put you in a breakout room. So David, if you can put everybody except for us in a room. And what I'd like you guys to do is between you brainstorm what you don't want to be known for.
There's Cassandra back. There we go. Everyone's coming back in. All right, Judith, the greater room is yours.
Welcome back, guys. So how was that? Oh, unmute yourselves.
For me, it was interesting. I was paired with Cassandra, and it was really funny because some of the things she said, I would say, like, for me, it's the opposite. But then when we sort of talked about it, we realized that maybe we were on the same point of view, but like seeing it from different points of view. But it was funny because, like, I think twice or three times, like, she said something, and I said, for me, it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to be known for failing. And she said, oh, I want to be known for failing.
Oh, how cool.
And I mean, in my organization, that's like a big thing that they promote now is it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail, because if you're not failing, it means you're not trying anything new. But no matter how much they say that, I still don't want to be known for failing at my job.
And for me, it was exactly what she was saying, like it was in the spirit of experimenting and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that thing about failure and what does it mean. So I always see it is that it's not so I guess most Mavericks, what they do is say that they don't like to fail, but if they, in their planning, see that, you know, they've worked out that you could fail in this particular way, then they see that as a stepping stone to success. So if they failed and the possibility of failure hadn't been considered beforehand, then your planning's wrong. That's annoying. Do you know what I mean? I should have anticipated that this could have happened. But if it happens, and you've anticipated, it's like, okay, cool. So I just need to do something different. That's fine. So maybe it's a mindset thing. Who else wants to share? Sorry, B, you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, and I liked, more than that, I like the second question that you asked us, like, why? What's the reason for that? And I thought that was even more interesting than the first one. For me, it was to not have regrets. I mean, I said different things, but like to sum it up, it was like to go more freely, like, and to not have regrets, to do what I like. So it was more in that direction. And I like this thought. And I like
cool.
This. And I like comparing with what Cassandra was saying too.
And what about you? Sorry, what about you, Sharon and Marcia?
Well, we really agreed on the importance of thinking for ourselves, and we hate to be known for somebody just conforms or does what everybody else thinks, or just follows what everybody else thinks. I think we're both Mavericks and trying to think uniquely and think for ourselves. That's what I picked up. I'd be interested to hear what she thought.
Yeah, that's what we agreed on. That we don't want to be chameleons who just come in and be part of everybody else. It's good that you question and don't just take for the sake of somebody saying something to you. And again, the characteristics of what we were saying, that you don't want to be, though, as you want to be helpful, but not to be seen as being proud or arrogant, because when you the belief that when you show people that, oh, in fact, I know what this is about, let me show you, and then you're having a conversation of questions and answer, you might be misrepresented as you're just being too proud and just showing off, when in fact you are challenging yourself and challenging them.
Cool. And Dan, I know you came in at the end of that. We were thinking about the 5 things that you don't want to be known for. So just to throw you, just for the sake of my sense of play, Dan, over to you.
Throw Dan to the sharks. Go on. Unmute yourself, Dan. Okay, you have.
Not wanting to make mistakes or be wrong. I'm okay with that. And because we live in a world filled with complexity, and I have given clients advice that I turned out to be the wrong advice. And when I ask them, I say, well, the fact that I was wrong, does that increase your confidence in me or decrease your confidence in me? And they invariably say it increases our confidence in you, because if you can't be right. You can't predict complexity or chaos. And if you can't acknowledge that you made a mistake, then where do you grow and learn from? And I heard some other things in there that is asking questions that help people think through, that provoke people's thinking. Not asking questions that make people feel stupid. And that's where I know I've done that. And that's where people can feel that I'm being arrogant, because I ask a question that points out something obvious to them. So I learned this from Aliyah is to work at the level people are at, and ask questions to get them to think out loud. And I know that was completely unclear.
Well, she did drop you in the deep end, to be fair.
I know. It was a bit wicked, but it did feel like fun at the time. The thing is, I could tell, Dan, from the conversation we've had before, that you're well up for to doing that. And I think what you said, some really important things there, isn't it? It's that humility and the confidence and the ability to say, you know what, that didn't work out, so this is what's going to happen now. And I think if you shy away from that, that's where there's a lack of confidence, and that's where they think there's more of an issue.
Right.
And I think the growth thing is, do you agree?
Yeah, that's the growth mindset, is you learn the most when you're struggling. So if we're interested, and I'm interested in innovation, well, then we've never done it before. How are we supposed to have the answers if we've never done it? If we knew what the answers were, we'd already be doing it.
And that's where the thinking comes in, isn't it? It's more interesting to see how someone's thinking and how they're thinking it through and get the thinking process right than it is almost to get the right answer.
Exactly.
I could see you saying it and then you was muted and you're like, exactly. So that's cool. Okay, that's great. Thank you guys for that.
You know, Dan, when you just, can I just add something to what Dan said?
Yeah.
He said, if you knew what you should do, you wouldn't be innovating because you would know what to do. But sometimes you know what to do, but you don't do it.
Yeah. Actually,
yes, you're exactly right.
Struggle less with that.
Okay, it was just another point.
But you're right. Most conformists will not do that. What do you think the purpose of me asking what you don't want to be known for?
Who are you asking?
Taking action from now on something.
Yeah, and also that sometimes a bit like what Dan was saying before, that if you know what you don't want, it lets you know what you do want. And sometimes people really struggle to claim something that's good. Do you know what I mean? So like if you say, what do you want to be known for? Sometimes people don't want to say, I want to be influential, I want to be a thought leader. So they say, well, I don't want people to think I'm stupid, or I don't want to see me failure. And then so sometimes looking for what you don't want does highlight what you do want and why you want it. Which I think that's why you had that interesting discussion between someone saying, I don't want to be a failure, do things wrong, and somebody saying, well, actually I do, because it's that kind of conflict and dichotomy that sort of interesting things come out. And also, I mean, Mavericks do deliberately look for the wrong answer. Quite a lot of the time, actually. Is there any ideas as to why Mavericks tend to do that? Apart from the fact that it's fun sometimes.
That's what I'm thinking, like more things you have, more absurd and more you, I mean, it's the more you have, the most absurd ideas and the better it is than to find a good idea.
Certainly one of them, yeah.
It helps.
Yeah, anybody else?
I'm sitting here wondering, could this be the root for the plenty sarcasm with Mavericks?
Interesting. I think a lot of that is contextual and tone. So sometimes if somebody says, well, that's right, isn't it? You know, then they're being sarcastic. But I think quite a lot of the time, especially socialized Mavericks, the Mavericks that you can bring in polite company, they don't look for confirmation bias. They don't look for people who agree with them. They look for people who don't agree with them to test their own hypothesis. Yes. So if I think this is this new thing I want to do, I'm looking for someone who doesn't agree with me, because then I can test why I think I'm right. And if the other person can convince me or give me serious doubts, then I prefer to do that than to launch something or do something and then go through the whole process and it not working. And it's another way of testing the strength of somebody else's ideas and convictions. So like if somebody says, so if David came along and said, this is what we're going to do, and I'm not sure whether he really believes in that, then I will probably start from that devil's advocate position that I don't hold, so they can convince me why they need to do it. And then I can go, yeah, okay. I believe you now. Has anyone else done that? Is that just me?
It's just you.
Yeah, it's just
me.
you.
Well, you should try it. It's good. Fun too. Let me show you an example of what I mean. Dave, can you show the video?
Yeah. I'm going to cut off your sharing now. Share computer sound, and here we go. Yeah.
What did you think? What did you guys think of that video?
Very funny.
Definitely. I mean, it's quite funny because out of all the choices of like what you can pick between a very kind of corporate view to that. It's quite amusing. So what did you think of it in terms of the point that they coming across and saying?
I think the power of the 5 whys is that what inevitably seems to happen is that you go from rational justifications, and somewhere around about the 3rd why you start getting into beliefs and points of view. It always seems to flip.
Yeah. What about everybody else? What do you think?
I think, like in counseling, I've noticed that usually the first problem that somebody brings to you is not the real problem. You have to dig deeper. And so when you do the 5 whys, you can get to what the real problem is.
Why?
Why is the Mavericks' favorite question? It's like, and it can really lead to frustration, anger, dependent on context and how you do it.
Yeah.
And this can often be because, as you were saying, that the first time people give you a reason, the first couple of whys, maybe up to the 3rd whys, they're not real, are they? They're just stuff. And it requires a lot of personal trust to get to the real answer. So it's a real uncovering of the truth. And when you go there, the answer that you give can really surprise you. And I think that sometimes when you're going through it requires that trust. And when you're going through the 5 whys, I think sometimes we all get to that point where we just decide, are we going to just let this process run through, or are we going to stop it? Because you know that you can see you're getting to the truth, and then you're trying to decide, do I want to get there or not? And I think it's in this process that Mavericks find it amusing and playful, because there's this undisclosed challenge within those whys, and that's fun. That's like, I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be cool. And the 5 whys, they can reveal more about the person asking the question than the person answering the question. So to get to the truth, both parties have to have their guard down, and you exchange trust or not. And I think for the Maverick, it's that danger that's associated with the disclosure that's fun, because I'm going to learn a lot about that person and what they think and they feel and how they react by asking some really easy question. Why? Do you see that? Is that something that you would see as fun or not fun?
Not fun.
I've heard of the 5 whys before. I mean, I've seen it in that context, with like streamlining, identifying problems in a process, and I've seen it applied in that way. But that video, I liked it because I think it's kind of what David was saying. You sort of get to these bigger underlying issues, but then it makes me think, well, like those answers are totally right. Like, then what do you do with that we live in this matrix where everything's just, our whole life is just this ridiculous thing that we're doing. But that's not a thing that you can go and fix in your factory, in your process.
No. And what's interesting about that video, I think it's more truthful, because you see the frustration, you see the anger, you see the change with but why? Whereas I think people normally, when they do the process, they take it too seriously. So that doesn't allow the truth to come out. It doesn't, because it's suddenly become loaded. It's become, my boss is asking me this question, which may mean I get less money in the future because so it becomes really closed. And I think this video shows the difference that can be made with the different tonality in the voices. Why? And, you know, to see them, and I like the fact that like they're jumping on those balls, isn't it? Because as they get more and more agitated, they're getting higher. But that is just so real, isn't it? So, I mean, if you ever get to that situation, I would say inject the fun. You know, use your whole body, use your, you know, expressions, and because you're trying to show you can trust me with the answer. And we're only playing. This is, you know, it's not a life and death situation here. I think seeing it from that point of view, do you think that would make it easier to do the 5 whys? Because, you know, pushing through that point where people are going, do I want to play with this or not?
Worth a shot.
Always worth a shot. Life is a joyous game, like I said. So cool. So, you know, as I say, socialized Mavericks, they love to influence, and they see all of this as play, and a loving dance between them and other people as a way of working for the greater good. And if you're leading and it's not fun, then you're probably not doing it right. What do you guys think about those statements? Anything to question on that?
Well, I think it's, I think you're on the, I think your first one on the whys, your tonality. I actually tell people never to start a question with why, because it implies judgment immediately. Why did you do that? You know, so your tonality is really important. But I'm really interested in what some people are calling the heliotropic effect, which is, is a typical conversation with you energizing or de-energizing? And fun is energizing, right? And if you're too serious all the time, or you're always asking why with judgment thrown into the question mark, then that's not fun, that's de-energizing. So I think it's, you can add, you know, are your conversations energizing or generative, or do they suck the life out of people? And so if you have a choice between being fun or sucking the life out of people, which one you want to go for?
Which is interesting, because people might say fun, but they still suck the energy out of you. I think sometimes asking the question, where's the fun in this, shifts the mindset. You know, even in the things that are really hard to do at work and very difficult, there's still fun to be had. And that doesn't mean you're playful, jokey, not serious. It might be, oh, what would happen if I did this? You know, how do I innovate this? How do I make this fun? If I know this person loves doing that, how can I make it more fun for them? You know, and I think it's that kind of thought process as to what does fun really mean. What do you think about the loving dance bit? What do you think I mean by that?
It made me think of something I didn't say before that I liked about the video of the 5 W's, which is the reciprocity. Like Dan was saying, you know, when you say why, okay, I'm asking why, so like I'm a judge or whatever, but if it's back and forth and it's like a dance. So what I liked very much about the video, it was not one person asking, but it was back and forth. So everybody was sort of up and down in terms of who's talking, who's answering, who's judging, who's being judged. In the end, nobody's judging, and it becomes playful. So that made me think of the second, this loving dance between the two asking the 5 W's.
Yeah, because in that video, it was a genuine inquiry, wasn't it? It wasn't, I have already decided that this is not going to work. It's like, you know, how does that work? So thank you for that. Anybody else have an idea around the loving dance part?
Well, I kind of saw it as quite an important offset, because the first one's sounds borderline God complex, egotistical. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to influence you. And it's a bit of a game. It sounds quite manipulative and quite nasty. But then the second condition, that it's actually a dance, a loving dance, particularly for the greater good, you know, speaks to motivations which are quite different. So, you know, the first one is in danger of sounding like you're dealing with a psychopath.
Some Mavericks are very similar to psychopaths.
Right.
But they're the extreme ones, not the socialized ones.
Okay. So yeah, I'm glad the second one's there.
Great. And I think the loving part is really key, as you said, David, because when you're leading, it is with love, isn't it? You're not there to harm. You're not there to grandstand. You know, it's an act of love, isn't it? When you're leading someone, influencing someone to be different, to be empowered to do something. You do it because you care, not because you're getting something out of it. And that's that kind of reference back to the greater good. You know, if you're leading and it's not fun for everybody, then you're not leading. And it's not I'm gonna say David Brent. So David Brent for English people, or Michael Scott for those who watch the American version of The Office. It's not that kind of false gaiety type fun at all. Okay, so to wrap up, it'd be really cool, David, if you could show us the next video. And I'll stop sharing.
I can most certainly do that.
What did you guys think of that one? That video.
Sci-fi night tonight.
No, it's cool. I liked how they're trying to use the parallel of the empire. Sadly, I have to say that there are many nations across the world that are using fear and all kinds of things. So,
yeah, I liked that, because it for me it felt like fun. It felt like it was very energized. It got the main points. Actually, the points were quite hard hitting. Mm-hmm. in a reference frame that most people could understand, and that's a lot about what leadership is. It's narrating the story, it's kind of injecting the fun. It's the, you know, if you want to lead, don't be like Darth Vader, don't choke the life out of the person, because I'm not going to learn anything, you know. And I think that's kind of the way it is. So I hope this kind of gave an indication that, you know, Mavericks aren't always these kind of psychopathic, serious individuals that have no sense of fun unless it's to manipulate and hurt people, David. But it's kind of like socialized Mavericks see leading as that loving dance where you're injecting fun, you're empowering, and you're innovating and trying to see life in a different way, so that when people work for you or with you, it's something that you know, inspiration comes easy because it's fun. And you're teaching other people or modeling other people to have fun in what they do.
Awesome. Thank you, Judith.
thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you.
Awesome. So
nice.
you can see Judith's contact details there on the last slide. So feel free to jot those down quickly and to get in touch with her if you have further questions about Maverick leadership. The next pop-up is not going to be the first Wednesday of the month, because that would just be silly, so soon after New Year. The next one is going to be January the 13th, and will feature Lily Higgins, who is a game designer and an urban gamer. And maybe, Alia, you can give people a bit more information. You know Lily better than I do.
Yeah, she's exactly that. So we haven't yet began planning what we'll be talking about, but I suspect we'll be playing some games during this session. So look forward to that in the new year. And are we at that point where we're ready to do the thing?
Yes, we are.
Okay, 1 second. I want to share my screen. We'll stop other screen sharing. Yes, I want to continue. Boom. Can you all see it?
A random name picker.
Hey, so let's see who is the winner. Boop. Okay, congratulations, Dan.
For what?
That's what happens when you come late. You win a prize, you got no idea what it is.
Yes, hardly.
That was very deadpan, Dan. It was very deadpan for one.
So I've just won a ticket for this year's Playful Creative Summit. I don't know if you had gotten one before or not, but probably not. So then
Oh, he looks confused, so clearly not.
Yeah, I'm confused. Yes, I'm reaching that age.
yeah.
So
So that means that you for this year's you have access to 45 speakers. You'll be able to gain their knowledge and watch all their fun interactive recordings and interviews that David and I did this year. And it gives you a flavor for what to expect next year, April 21st, when we do it again with another set of 45 speakers.
And knowledge, hopefully the knowledge will flow in and not just straight through. Is that what Mahaley Mahaley meant by flow?
Yeah, flow. Yeah, you remember that. Yeah, it's great.
In one ear and out the other? Hopefully not. Well, that's awesome. Wow, I'm so excited.
I think he's playing with us.
I think he's playing. Look at that face.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much for coming along. We hope to see you at the next one, which is also going to be a hell lot of fun. Hope you have a good end to the year and a fine festive season. And if you're going on holiday, well, lucky you. And we'll be in touch with details about the next pop-up. And of course, you can expect to be getting updates from us in the new year about the Playful Creative Summit for 2021. So thank you, Judith, for your time. And thank you, Alia, for running things in the background. And thank you to all of you for being here once again.